Now I'm going to try to show you this before it gets completely dark. My phone's about dead, so I can't turn on the light. Probably can't see that, but it's going in there. But you know how you're like a little kid, you want to test out your stuff, no matter whether you got the right stuff or not. Well, I'm going to test it out tomorrow. And tonight, of course, it's dark. It's darker than it looks through my phone, but I just got it sitting out here in the open. I don't have it under that tree, but got it sitting out here for a couple days. It's not supposed to be stormy or anything, I don't think yet. Got my wires hooked up under here, which you can't see. Make sure you check your wires, because I found one that was bare. So, you know, this is old wire. This was given to me. So, there's that. And then it comes in down there underneath things. And it's out farther than it's normally going to be until I cut that tree. If you watched my last video, you see I cut the connectors off. Screw those connectors. If I leave them connectors on, then I got to buy their special cables with their special connectors. When I could just, I got them wire nutted out there right now, but when I'm in my permanent installation, it'll be crimped correctly and all that stuff outside. And here, I'm not using my red wire because that's the wire that I found had a bad spot on it. So I'm using my green and black. Black for negative, obviously, just to stay with the colors. And green for positive. So now what I got to do is I got to strip my cables. And they're going to go in here. But first, you're supposed to connect to the batteries. So I got to connect to my batteries, which I found 2 long runs of 8 gauge. And crimped me some connectors on the end. They're pretty crappy, but they'll work. And what I really want to do is I want to run some power through these batteries and try to get a drain on them, which I have 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 7 of them here, and they're also hooked up to one up front. And these are like 130 amp hours a piece, so it takes a little bit to put a strain on these batteries to drain any of them. But also, I don't have a fuse in my inverter right there, which if it blew my inverter up, I don't really care. I got that for 25 cents. I do care, but you know, when it's in more permanent location and how I want it, I'm going to put the fuse in. But like I said, I'm not going to hack up a bunch of wire just to play. I did hack that up, but that's 12 gauge. But anyway, so I can't do this with no hands. I'm going to hook this guy up to my batteries, mount it on my board, and then I'm going to hook up my solar panel. See if this thing makes any lights. Alright, so here's what's going on. Charge controller is hooked up. My inverter is going. See if I can do this. You probably can't see. It says 12.6, which I believe is what my voltmeter read there. But for my temporary setup, I got my power. It's going to the last post down there on the end. And my negative's going to my second to the last post, just because this one's going to one of my amplifiers and a voltmeter up front. So I didn't really want to interfere with that amplifier. So I just hooked the ground up the same spot that the ground is hooked up to where my inverter is. And right now, this light right here, not that one. That one's running off actual electricity. That light, this radio, and that fan is hooked up to my inverter and all these batteries. I'm see if you can hear this. I'm sure you can probably hear the slight humming sound in that fan, and that is because this is not a pure sine wave inverter. This is just a Cobra, which is not like, you know, the cheapest of the cheap, I don't think. But, you know, like I said, I got it for 25 cents at the yard sale, and it's doing work. It's probably pushing, I don't know, 150 watts right now. Which, of course, with no problem. And I can turn my radio up and jam pretty loud. And it's actually not putting any interference out through my radio. But my charge controller, I hooked the batteries up first, because that is what it tells you to do. and it showed power on my controller, and then the green and black wire down there is my positive and negative on my solar panel. Now I guess I'll have a light lit up right there by my solar panel when it's charging, but it's nighttime outside right now. Looks light, I guess, from the light in here, but it's nighttime, so of course not getting any power at all. So yeah, I probably won't be home early enough. I might be home early enough tomorrow to see sun outside, but I have a long day at work. But I'm not sure what everything means on here. I mean, it comes from very simple directions, kind of self-explanatory in a way, but I'm guessing that there's 2 out of 3 bars lit up there. I'm guessing that's showing how much power I got in my batteries, which they should be charged decent, but not like overpowered. The green light says I have a load. It says load on top of it there. Don't really, that was on before I even plugged in my inverter, so I don't quite understand that. I got to do some more research on these cheap controllers. But you know, just playing right now, just for fun. Definitely have to change my solar panel setup out there because a strong wind comes. I'm like being pretty brave right now. If a strong wind came right now, it could probably damage that panel, but I think it'll be all right. It's supposed to be sunny, I believe, for the next couple days, so that'd be pretty cool. But have a hell of a battery bank. It'd be quite a bit to run them down, which it'd also be quite a bit to power them up. But hopefully one day I get some sun. I actually have a clamp meter I can possibly stick around my cables here going to my batteries and see what kind of amperage I'm getting, and maybe do some math and see, you know, what kind of amperage I have going to my batteries, charging them. On my battery charger here, this is what I normally use to power my batteries with electricity. I usually use the well, you can't really see it, but it's got a 3 amp, 5 amp, 20 amp, and 75 amp, which is engine start. But I usually charge my batteries with a 5 amp charge. I'm hoping to get at least a 3 out of this controller, but you know, I'm not out here in my garage every day with everything running and all that, so I might be okay with just one panel and a cheap controller for the moment. But like I said, I will be getting a better panel, or I'm sorry, a better charge controller, MPPT, to get more power, and I'm sure more panels will come. And for time being, I'm going to use this little inverter. It works, and who knows? Who knows? That definitely, that light, I have plenty of power to run that light in my batteries anyway. So I have to reverse extension cord and run it back this way, because right now I have it all. Yeah, I don't know. It's a long story. It's switched around to where all this power is going to the front and then getting plugged in and getting plugged in again. But anyway, yep. I hope it kind of told you a little bit. Also, very, 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 very important. You see on there where it says battery plus and negative, that is right next to each other. And I'm sure this charge controller is made, you know, it's made to do spade terminals, all that kind of stuff, to be safe. If there is one little strand coming from one going to the other, I don't care if it's a plus going into the negative, negative going into the plus, man, oh man, let me tell you, with this many batteries, and they're huge. I mean, let's see, I hate to, here, I'll use my beer can for reference. That's how big that battery is. All of them in the back of my truck are those batteries right there. So one little wrong spark can be very bad. And there's 7 in here, and there's one up front that's also, it's almost the same size as these guys. So when you put the strands in there, you make sure you tape them very well, shove them up in there very well, tighten it down very tight, and double, triple, and quadruple check that, because you do not want those touching. Anyway, just a little test. I'll update you more later.